Adunni. She looked around. No one was there.
Long before paved roads crossed the land, before tall buildings touched the clouds, there stood a magnificent African kingdom known as Akanle, nestled between towering Iroko trees, crystal-clear rivers, and endless green fields of yam, maize, and cassava. Akanle was admired by every neighboring kingdom. Its people believed the ancestors smiled upon their land. Every sunrise brought new life. Women swept the compounds with handmade brooms as soft smoke curled from clay kitchens. Children laughed joyfully while chasing one another through dusty village paths. Hunters returned proudly from the forest, carrying fresh game over their shoulders. Farmers walked home with baskets overflowing with vegetables, millet, and cassava. The steady rhythm of the talking drums echoed through the air, welcoming another peaceful day. To anyone passing through, Akanle looked like the happiest kingdom in all of Africa, but hidden beneath that peaceful smile lived a secret, older than anyone alive. At the very heart of Akanle stood the magnificent royal palace of King Obada. It was the grandest building anyone had ever seen. Its walls were built from smooth red earth, polished until they glowed beneath the African sun. Beautiful white tribal symbols decorated every wall. Massive carved wooden pillars held up an enormous roof woven from fresh raffia leaves. Powerful royal guards stood watch day and night, their long spears shining beneath the golden sunlight. Inside the palace were dozens of rooms, wide courtyards, sacred shrines, and magnificent halls where the village elders gathered to advise the king and settle disputes. Every visitor admired its beauty. Every child dreamed of stepping through its gates. Yet every servant knew there was one place inside the palace that no one dared approach. Behind the western wing of the palace stretched a narrow corridor. Unlike the rest of the palace, this hallway was strangely silent. No servant swept away the dust. No guard stood at its entrance. Even during festivals, when music echoed throughout the palace, this corridor remained empty. At its end stood an ancient wooden door. It had no handle, no keyhole, no lock. Only strange carvings covered its surface. Spirals, ancient masks, stars, and mysterious symbols that no one alive could understand. Dust rested thick upon the wood. Spider webs hung untouched across its corners. It looked as though time itself had forgotten the door. Yet every person in the palace believed one thing: whatever lay behind it was never meant to be disturbed. For more than 200 years, every new king who ascended the throne of Akanle received the same sacred warning. During the royal coronation, when the kingdom gathered to celebrate its new ruler, the oldest elder would slowly step forward, though all would fall completely silent. He would place both hands upon the king's shoulders and look deeply into his eyes. Then, in a calm but commanding voice, he would speak.
Lead with justice, protect with courage. But hear these words, no matter the season, no matter who asks, never open the hidden.
King Obada had only one child, Princess Adunni. She was known throughout the kingdom for her kindness, her intelligence, and her endless curiosity. Unlike other princesses who loved expensive beads, fine fabrics, and royal celebrations, Adunni loved stories. She spent countless evenings beneath the moonlight, listening to elderly storytellers speak of forgotten kingdoms and ancient heroes. She welcomed travelers into the palace just to hear tales from distant lands. Whenever she had free time, she disappeared into the royal library, reading old scrolls and dusty manuscripts preserved by generations before her. Knowledge was her greatest treasure. She believed every legend contained a hidden truth, and every mystery was waiting for someone brave enough to solve it. One quiet afternoon, while exploring the palace, Princess Adunni noticed something unusual. Two palace servants approached the western hallway, carrying woven baskets filled with fresh fruit. Just as they reached the corridor, they suddenly stopped. The smiles disappeared from their faces. Without saying a word, they turned around and chose a much longer path. Adunni frowned. Their behavior made no sense. The servants froze. They exchanged frightened glances before one finally answered.
Excuse me? Why are you avoiding that hallway?
We dare not go there, my lady.
That evening, the royal family gathered inside the palace dining hall. Warm oil lamps flickered gently against the carved walls. A long wooden table was filled with roasted yam, grilled fish, spicy vegetable soup, fresh fruits, and clay cups of cool water. King Obadiah sat at the head of the table. Beside him sat Queen Morenik. Princess Adunni sat quietly across from her parents, surrounded by royal relatives, although the room was filled with family. An unusual silence hung in the air. Adunni looked toward her father. She had held the question inside her heart for far too long. Finally, she spoke.
Father, what is inside the hidden room?
There are questions that should never be
The
asked.
smile slowly disappeared from the king's face. He lowered his eyes. The hall became silent. Even the crackling oil lamp seemed louder. Slowly, the king placed his clay cup upon the table.
But father,
When you are older, you will understand. Some doors are never meant to be opened.
His voice remained calm, but behind his eyes, Adunni saw something she had never seen before. Fear. That night, sleep refused to come. Princess Adunni lay awake, staring at the moonlight shining through her window. One question echoed endlessly inside her mind. If the room held nothing, why was everyone afraid of it? Quietly, she stepped onto the palace balcony. The cool night breeze gently lifted her braided hair. Far below, she could see the dark western corridor. At its end stood the ancient wooden door, silent, still, watching. Then, something impossible happened. The strange carvings upon the door began glowing with a faint golden light. Adunni held her breath. She blinked. The glow disappeared. A cold wind swept through the palace. Then, from somewhere deep inside the darkness, a soft whisper drifted through the night.
Adunni. She looked around. No one was there.